Human Diplomat Shelters 11. Alien nuns and then opens the gates of death. Vera 6 was a total wasteland, all crimson skies and storms that'd sandblast your skin off. Out in that mess, 11 shadows slogged through the ash like they didn't give a damn about the wind screaming at 200 clicks an hour. Gabriel Cross, 54, rubbed his storm gray eyes looking like he'd seen too many bad days. Big guy, graying beard, carrying the kind of baggage you get from blowing the whistle on a dirty Zorath Empire deal. He paced the dusty control room of Sanctum Bastion, this old Elyrian fortress that was more ruin than refuge. Towering obsidian walls, 50 meters high, arched like some ancient church and used to be holy. Now it was just his crash pad. His beat-up diplomat's coat hung next to a storm cloak rigged with filters. Leftovers from a life he'd burned down after that treaty fiasco cost him everything. Friends, respect, the lot. Exiled here, where magnetic storms tore through at crazy speeds, shredding anything not nailed down. Nobody came to Vera 6 unless they were out of options. A loud ping cut through the hum of air recyclers. Sensors lit up. 11 blips moving fast through the storm. Gabriel froze, hand hovering over the console. Who's nuts enough to hike out here? Pirates? Empire grunts? He flicked on the cams. Feed was fuzzy, but there they were. 11 figures, cloaked, pushing against the gale. One led standing tall, like the storm was just an annoyance. He squinted, not liking this one bit. Bastion's gates hadn't budged in years. 10 meters of alloy, rusty as hell. Opening them was asking for trouble, messing up his quiet hideout. But the leader's eyes on the feed, black, sharp, like they could see right through him, hit like a gut punch. She raised a hand. Help us, now. Gabriel grumbled, smacking the override. Gears whined like they were pissed off. The floor shook. Dust trickled down. Gates cracked open, letting in a blast of ash and wind. The group stumbled in, half collapsing on the stone floor. Their leader stood first, gripping a black stone reliquary, fist-sized, carved with blue runes that glowed like they had a heartbeat. Thanks for not leaving us to die out there, she said, voice calm, slicing through the storm's fading howl. Just need a spot to crash. One night, tops. Gabriel stepped up, his big frame throwing a shadow. Wore his storm cloak loose over old fatigues. What's got you running to a dump like this? He sized them up. 11 women, Elyrian, silver-purple skin, caked with ash, robes ripped to hell. They'd trekked 300 clicks through that storm. Tough didn't cover it. She locked eyes with him, lean like she could move fast and mean. Folks who want this. Her hand tightened on the reliquary. Runes pulsed. Alive, maybe. Get inside. Storm's not messing around. He waved them in, sealing the gates with a loud clang. Air recyclers kicked on, sucking out the dust. The women moved quickly, helping each other. No whining despite looking like they'd been through a meat grinder. Like they were used to this. Gabriel led them through dim halls. Vaulted ceilings ate the light from flickering lum strips. Faded murals on the walls, stars, gates, old Elyrian stuff. The leader stayed close. Malus Thorn, she said, voice soft, like a song stuck in your head. Gabriel Cross. Short, no need to overshare. They hit the central atrium. Carvings snaked up the walls. Malus stopped cold. Her black eyes went wide. These carvings. She touched one, matched her reliquary's runes. Dead on, like they were meant to be. Gabriel's gut did a flip. I'm done with the galaxy's drama. Why does this feel like trouble picking me out? He shook it off. Old Elyrian crap, 500 years old. For pilgrims or fighters, he nodded at the benches. Chill there. Water's over in the corner. The women settled, murmurs. One sipped from a spout, another patched a cut. Mally's hung back, fingers brushing the wall. This place, it's more than a wreck. Her voice went low like she knew something he didn't. It's a roof, that's all. But Gabriel wasn't buying his own line. Those runes, that reliquary, like a puzzle he didn't ask to solve. Outside, the storm cranked up, slamming the shields. Then a faint hum, not the wind, mechanical. Sensors pinged. Zorath scout drones, red optics cutting the ash. The Empire was already on their tail. Gabriel kept that to himself. For now. Malys glanced over, a sly smile tugging her lips. We're gonna stir things up, Gabriel Cross. Hope you're ready. Quiet hit the atrium, just the storm's muffled roar, and that hum creeping closer. The storm still screamed outside, but inside Sanctum Bastion, things were starting to feel almost normal. Almost. Gabriel watched the 11 Elyrian priestesses get to work like they'd been handed a fixer-upper and a deadline. Each one had a vibe, courage, sacrifice, you name it, like they were living virtues straight out of some ancient playbook. They dove into the hydroponic gardens, coaxing green shoots from cracked planters like it was no big deal. Gabriel, still rough around the edges with his graying beard and battered fatigues, pitched in, not because he was sold on their cause, but because sitting still wasn't his style. The priestesses showed him how to tweak the water channels, pulling power from geothermal vents deep under the fortress. Hot water gurgled through pipes, feeding the gardens. He got the hang of it quickly, his hands steady from years of discipline, even if his trust was still on lockdown. Malys, the leader with those deep black eyes, pulled out a crystalline data shard one evening. She sat cross-legged in the atrium, the relic glowing faintly under lum strips. This is our sacred text, she said, voice soft but heavy. Says an outsider's gonna open the 12th gate. Someone not Elyrian. Right place, right time. The shard projected faint hollow runes, spinning slowly. Gabriel leaned against a wall, arms crossed. The atrium's carvings, the same as the ones on Malys's reliquary, caught the light. Built 500 years ago, she'd said, for this exact prophecy. He snorted. I'm no savior, Malys. I broke one treaty, lost everything. Why the hell would I be your guy? Doubt chewed at him, but those carvings were too perfect a match to shrug off. One priestess, radiating patience like it was her job, sat him down later. She had scars like ritual brands, silver-purple skin glowing faintly. Chant with me, she said, voice steady as stone. The rhythm was simple, repetitive, like a heartbeat. It quieted the noise in his head, the kind that kept him up at night. I've dodged wars, he thought. Why's this place pulling me in? The priestesses weren't just fixing gardens. They were arming up. Ceremonial plasma daggers, edges hot enough to melt steel, 10,000 degrees, easy. They moved like they trained for this, each step precise. Gabriel stumbled on a hidden armory while checking a collapsed hall. Old pulse rifles, dusty but functional, lined the racks. He tested one. Still hummed with a low charge. Good enough for a fight. Trouble was brewing, though. Bastion's sensors picked up encrypted Zorath signals. General Zarvek, some big shot with a fleet of 50 warships, was sniffing around Vera 6. Gabriel ran the numbers, 48 hours, tops, before they had hit. He kept that to himself, but the air felt heavier, like the storm wasn't the only thing closing in. Malys caught him checking the sensor logs. You see them, don't you? She said, not accusing, just knowing. Her torn robes swayed as she leaned closer, reliquary strapped to her belt. The Empire wants this. She tapped the black stone. Runes pulsed. They're scared of what it means. He grunted, wiping sweat from his brow. They should be. 50 warships ain't a courtesy call. He didn't trust her whole prophecy gig, but he wasn't dumb enough to ignore an army. The priestesses kept working, turning the atrium into a hub. Water flowed, green sprouted, like they were building a home, not a war zone. The patient priestess caught him again that night, handing him a cup of recycled water. "You're not just hiding here," she said, eyes kind but sharp. "You're part of this." Gabriel sipped, staring at the carvings. His gut twisted. "I'm no hero. I'm just a guy who picked the wrong fight once. But the runes, the reliquary, the way Malus watched him, it all screamed he was in deeper than he wanted." Outside, the ash storm raged, muffling the hum of Zorath drones creeping closer. Their red optics blinked on the sensors, mapping the fortress. Gabriel checked the armory again, counting rifles. The priestesses sharpened their daggers, their chants echoing softly through the halls. Malus stood by the altar, data shard glowing, her face calm but set. "They're coming," Gabriel said, voice low, testing her. Malus nodded, like she'd known all along. "Then we get ready. You with us, Cross?" He didn't answer, not out loud, but as he grabbed a pulse rifle, checking its charge, he felt the weight of the bastion shift. Not just a ruin anymore. Something bigger. Something he couldn't outrun. The storm howled. The drones closed in. And the runes kept glowing, like they were waiting for him to catch up. Malus Thorne sat cross-legged in the dim atrium, her black eyes locked on the reliquary, like it were whispering secrets. The black stone, etched with those creepy glowing runes, pulsed faintly under the flickering lum strips. She was in her 30s, lithe as a cat, silver-purple skin catching the light like she was part of the fortress's weird vibe. Her torn robes hung loose, but that reliquary stayed strapped tight to her belt. High priestess of the Elyrian faith, she carried the weight of 12 years of training across 7 star systems, memorizing prophecies like they were her favorite playlists. She ran a finger over the reliquary. Her mind flashed back to dusty temples, endless chants, and old hollow texts spelling out the 12th gate. A dimensional rift sealed 1,000 years ago after some nasty Elyrian war. The sacred texts stored on that crystalline data shard called it the Big One, a gate that'd free their people's trapped souls. But only if the right guy showed up, the outsider, not Elyrian, just some random dude at the right place, right time. Malus smirked. "Random, my ass." She glanced at Gabriel Cross, who was elbow-deep in a water pump across the atrium. Big guy, gray beard, moving like he'd fixed worse in his diplomat days. Disciplined, but gruff, like he'd rather punch the pump than pray to it. Malus leaned to her sister priestess, a wiry woman with scars like ritual tattoos. "He's the one," she whispered. "Doubts himself to death, but those runes, they're screaming his name." The priestess nodded, eyes fierce. "He's stubborn, like a mule with a grudge." Malus chuckled, low. Gabriel didn't look like a savior, but the carvings on Bastion's walls, the same as her reliquaries, didn't lie. Built 500 years ago, this place was no accident. It was a stage, and Gabriel was stumbling into the lead role. Malus stood, gathering the priestesses for a ritual. They circled the central altar, a slab of obsidian worn smooth by time. She placed the reliquary dead center. Runes glowed brighter, syncing with the wall carvings. A faint hum, 40 hertz, like a heartbeat in the stone, rippled through the floor. The priestesses chanted, voices weaving tight, each one channeling a virtue: courage, patience, sacrifice. The air got thick, like the gate itself was waking up somewhere deep below. Malus felt it. A pull, like the bastion was alive, whispering back. If Gabriel falters, our people's souls stay trapped, she thought, her calm cracking just a bit. I've got to nudge him. Not push, guide. She adjusted her robes, torn from their 300-click trek, and checked the plasma daggers on her belt. Edges hot enough to cut steel, glowing like tiny suns. just in case. Outside, trouble was brewing. Bastion sensors pinged. Zorath drones, sneaky little bastards, breaching the outer perimeter. Their scanners were mapping the fortress, red optics slicing through the ash storm. Malus caught the alert on a cracked console. She didn't flinch. "Arm up," she told the priestesses, voice steady. "Towers, line-of-sight turrets. You know your spots." The women moved fast, each grabbing a plasma turret from Bastion's old defenses. The turrets, rigged to track motion, hummed with a low charge. Malus assigned positions. Courage to the east tower, patience to the north. They'd hold the line if the drones got bold. She glanced at Gabriel, still wrestling the pump. "He's not ready," she muttered to herself, "but the gate doesn't care." She knelt by the altar, hands on the reliquary. The hum grew stronger, vibrating her bones. "If he's the outsider, he'll step up," she prayed, voice barely a whisper. "He has to." The runes pulsed, like they were nodding back. The priestess's chants filled the atrium, steady and low, like a lullaby for a war zone. Gabriel looked up, wiping sweat. "What's with the singing?" he called, half joking, half annoyed. Malus smiled slyly. "Just warming up the place, Cross. You'll get used to it." He snorted, but his eyes flicked to the reliquary. Like he felt it too. That pull. The sensors beeped louder. Drones were closing, maybe 2 clicks out. Zorath's General Zarvek wasn't messing around. 50 warships were waiting in orbit, ready to turn Vera 6 to glass. Malus gripped her dagger, its heat warming her palm. The Bastion was ready. The priestesses were ready. Gabriel? He was still a question mark. She stood, brushing ash from her robes. "Keep fixing that pump, Cross," she said, tossing him a grin. "We're gonna need it." He grumbled something, but kept working. Malus turned back to the altar, the hum steady in her chest. The gate was closed, and so was the fight. The hum of Zorath drones grew louder, cutting through the storm's howl like a bad omen. Gabriel Cross crouched at a pulse rifle turret, its barrel humming with a 50 kilojoule charge, built to punch through scout armor like tinfoil. His graying beard caught ash flakes, and his storm cloak flapped as he scanned the horizon. Bastion's walls loomed around him, 50 meters of obsidian soaking up the crimson glow of Vera 6's dusk. The fortress felt alive, but not in a cozy way, more like it was holding its breath. Outside, 200 Zorath troops marched through the ash dunes, their exosuits shuddering Ka-12, clanking like walking tanks. Magnetic storms battered their armor, but the suits held, shielding them from the 200 kph winds. Gabriel squinted at the sensor feed. They were a kilometer out, moving fast. "Here we go," he muttered, fingers tightening on the turret's grip. He barked orders to the priestesses, splitting them into fire zones across Bastion's 1 kilometer perimeter. "Cover the gaps. Don't let them flank." The women nodded, their silver-purple skin glinting under lum strips as they scrambled to turrets and barricades. One priestess, radiating courage like she was born for this, climbed the east tower alone. Her plasma dagger glowed, hot enough to melt steel, 10,000 degrees, easy. She slashed a drone that got too close, its hull sparking and crumbling. Gabriel's mind raced. I've seen wars cost. Fighting means blood. But letting them in? That's worse. He shook it off, focusing on the turret's targeting system. The screen blinked red. Zorath artillery, 20-kilometer range plasma shells, hammering the outer walls. The ground shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Bastion's shield, a 100-meter wide energy dome, flickered under the onslaught, glowing like a bruised sunset. Malus, her torn robes whipping in the recycled air, activated the shield's backup power. "Hold it together!" she shouted, her black eyes fierce. The priestesses chanted, their voices steady, like a heartbeat against the chaos. Gabriel caught her glance. She nodded, sharp. They were in this together, whether he liked it or not. He jury-rigged a magnetic pulse emitter from spare parts in the armory, a trick from his diplomat days when he'd seen techs improvise under fire. The emitter hummed, sending out 30-second bursts that scrambled drone navigation. A swarm veered off, crashing into dunes. "Take that, you buzzing bastards," he growled, resetting the device. The courageous priestess shouted from her tower, "Thanks! Horizon!" Gabriel spun the turret. Zorath tanks, 50-ton beasts, crested the dunes, their cannons glowing with plasma charge. His pulse rifle whined, spitting energy bolts. One hit a tank's tread, slowing it. Not enough. The shield flickered again, cracks glowing red. Another hit would bring it down. General Zarvek's voice crackled over stolen comms, cold and sharp. "Surrender the reliquary or Bastion burns." Gabriel snorted. "Yeah, right, buddy. Come get it." He fired another burst. The turrets recoiled, jarring his shoulder. The priestesses' chants grew louder, their plasma daggers flashing as they held their ground. The courageous priestess took down another drone, her dagger slicing through its core like butter. Malus slid beside him, her reliquary pulsing at her belt. "They're scared, Cross. The prophecies got 'em spooked." Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned. Gabriel grunted, lining up a shot. "Scared or not, they've got more guns." A plasma shell hit the shield and the dome flickered, sparks raining down. The air smelled like ozone. The priestesses held their post, their chants weaving through the gunfire. One, patience glowing in her scars, manned a turret with steady hands, picking off drones with surgical shots. Gabriel's emitter pulsed again, scattering another swarm. The tanks kept coming, their hulls shrugging off smaller hits. He cursed under his breath. This was going to get ugly. Malus gripped his arm. "The gate's close, Cross. We hold till the right." Her black eyes locked on his, like she could see his doubts. "I'm no hero," he thought, "but I ain't running." He nodded, firing another burst. The shield groaned, holding for now. The priestesses' voices rose, a steady hum against the storm and the tank's roar. A drone exploded nearby, shrapnel pinging off the walls. The courageous priestess whooped, her dagger raised like a torch. Gabriel smirked despite himself. These ladies were something else. But the tanks were closing, and Zarvek's fleet was up there, 50 warships ready to turn Vera 6 to ash. The emitter hummed again, buying them seconds. Seconds they'd need. The atrium shook. The shield flickered. Melis's reliquary pulsed brighter, like it knew what was coming. Gabriel's gut twisted. They were running out of time. The Zorath corporal trudged through Vera 6's ash dunes, his 300-kilo exosuit clanking like a junkyard on legs. Magnetic storms battered his visor, clouding it with dust, but the suit's filters kept him breathing. Barely. His HUD blinked warnings. 12% power left, drained by the 200 kph winds. He was just a grunt, silver-gray armor scarred from a dozen campaigns, sent to this hellhole to hunt a prophecy. The 12th gate. Whispers among the troops said it could end the Zorath Empire's 200-year grip. He shivered, and it wasn't the cold. Through the haze, Sanctum Bastion loomed, its obsidian walls soaking up the crimson dusk. 50 meters high, arched like some ancient shrine. The corporal's squad, 50 strong, hauled railguns firing 5 kilo slugs at Mach 7. They hammered Bastion's shield, a 100-meter energy dome glowing red with cracks. Each hit shook the ground, ash swirling like a ticked-off ghost. The corporal's comms crackled with General Zarvek's orders. Breach in 4 hours, or the fleet would glass the planet. He spotted a priestess on the east tower, her silver-purple skin glinting. Her plasma dagger flared, 10,000 degrees of bad news, slicing a drone's hull clean through. Sparks rained. Damn, she's fast, he thought, gripping his railgun tighter. His squad pushed forward, exosuits grinding against dunes. Bastion's defenders fired back, pulse rifle bursts, 50 kilojoule shots, pinging off armor. One caught his buddy's shoulder, sparking. The guy cursed, stumbling. The corporal's HUD flickered. A magnetic pulse hit, frying comms for 30 seconds. Drones veered, crashing. That's their trick, he muttered, heart pounding. He thought of his family, tucked away on a Zorath colony. Is this prophecy worth dying for? Orders were orders, but this felt wrong, like poking a sleeping beast. Bastion's shield groaned, cracks widening. The corporal's railgun roared, slugs slamming the dome. It flickered, barely holding. He glimpsed a glow through a bastion window. The reliquary, its runes pulsing blue. His stomach dropped. That's what Zarvek wants. That's what'll end us. He shook it off, aiming again. Another slug, another tremor. On the walls, Gabriel Cross manned a turret, his gray beard dusted with ash, storm cloak flapping. The big guy's pulse rifle spat energy, each burst lighting the dusk. The corporal saw him tweak a device, an emitter, probably what scrambled their drones. Smart bastard. A tank, 50-ton hull grinding forward, took a hit from Gabriel's turret. Its tread sparked, slowing. Not enough to stop it. The priestesses chanted, their voices cutting through the gunfire like a weird lullaby. One, all courage, stood tall on her tower, dagger flashing as she downed another drone. The corporal's squad pushed closer, now 500 meters out. Plasma shells from their artillery, 20-kilometer range, pounded the shield. It flickered, red cracks spreading like veins. "Keep firing," his sergeant barked. The corporal obeyed, but his hands shook. Gabriel's emitter pulsed again, scattering drones. The corporal's HUD glitched, comms dead. "Fall back," the sergeant yelled. They retreated 2 clicks, regrouping in the dunes. The storm howled, ash clogging joints in his suit. He glanced back. Bastion stood defiant, its shield barely up. The reliquary's glow haunted him, like it was watching. Inside, he imagined the defenders scrambling. That big guy, Gabriel, is probably barking orders. The priestesses, with their freaky daggers, held towers like they were born for war. The corporal's gut twisted. Zarvek's voice came back online. Breach or burn? No choice. He reloaded, slug clicking into place. His squad advanced again, tanks rumbling behind. The shield flickered one last time, a deep groan echoing. The corporal saw the courageous priestess, still fighting, her dagger a blur. A pulse rifle shot grazed his arm, suit sparking. He cursed, ducking. This ain't just a job anymore, he thought. It's a damn nightmare. Back in Bastion, Melis stood by the altar, her reliquary pulsing faster. Her black eyes flicked to Gabriel. "Hold the line, Cross," she said, voice calm but sharp. He nodded, firing another burst. The tanks were 300 meters out now, their cannons glowing. The priestess's chants grew louder, steadying the air. The corporal didn't know it, but the gate was waking, and it was hungry. The shield cracked louder. Ash swirled. The corporal's HUD blinked, 8% power. He gripped his railgun, heart hammering. Whatever was in that fortress, it wasn't just a fight. It was something bigger, something that scared even Zarvek. The air in Sanctum Bastion buzzed like a live wire. Melis Thorne stood at the central altar, her silver-purple hands steady as she placed the reliquary dead center. Its runes pulsed at 60 hertz, a low thrum that shook the obsidian slab. Her black eyes glinted, torn robes swaying as she nodded to the priestesses. They formed a tight circle, all 11, each radiating a virtue, courage, patience, sacrifice, like they were channeling something ancient. Their plasma daggers glowed, raised high, edges hot enough to cut through starship hulls. Gabriel Cross, storm cloak flapping, stood guard at the altar chamber's entrance. His pulse rifle hummed, charged for a fight. His gray beard was streaked with ash. but his storm-gray eyes were locked on the door. Outside, Zorath tanks, 50-ton monsters, ground closer, their cannons spitting plasma. Bastion's shield was down to flickers, cracks glowing red. The storm howled at 200 kph, but it was the enemy's rumble that made the walls shake. Malus started the right of 12 gates, her voice low, lulling, like a chant you'd hear in a dream. The priestesses joined in, their voices weaving tight, steadying the air. The reliquary's runes flared brighter, and the floor trembled. A 5-meter rift cracked open in the chamber's heart, a shimmering slash of light, like a tear in reality. The 12th gate. Gabriel glanced back, his gut twisting. That's no door. That's trouble. Melis's eyes met his, calm but urgent. The prophecy's got a catch, Cross, she said, voice cutting through the hum. The outsider's blood opens the gate. Your blood. Gabriel froze, rifle still in hand. His mind locked up. I've run from duty before. Not this time. He nodded, jaw tight. Let's get it done. The priestesses' chant hit a fever pitch, their daggers glowing like tiny suns. The gate flickered, unstable, light pulsing like it was alive. Outside, a Zorath tank breached the outer wall, its hull smashing through rubble. Gabriel spun, rifle barking. A 10-shot burst ripped through a commando's exosuit, sparks flying as the soldier dropped. More were coming, elite breachers, their 15 kj plasma lances cutting through Bastion's inner doors like paper. Malus kept chanting, her hands steady on the reliquary. It cracked open, slow, like it was waking up. Inside, a silver ceremonial blade gleamed, its edge vibrating with quantum energy. 1 kilo of pure purpose. Gabriel's eyes locked on it. The gate's light bathed the chamber, bright enough to burn shadows away. The priestesses held their ground, their chant holding the rift steady as it threatened to collapse. A Zorath breacher charged the chamber, lance blazing. Gabriel ducked, firing a burst that punched through the soldier's chest plate. The guy crumpled, but another took his place. The courageous priestess, dagger flashing, leaped from her post, slashing a lance in half. She grinned, fierce, like she was born for this. Gabriel's emitter pulsed outside, scattering drones, but the tanks kept coming, their cannons roaring. Malus grabbed the blade, handing it to Gabriel. It's now, Cross, she said, voice sharp. The gate's light pulsed faster, the hum hitting a deafening pitch. Gabriel gripped the blade, its weight heavy in his calloused hands. He glanced at the priestesses, their faces set, chanting through the chaos. The patient priestess met his eyes, nodding slowly, like she knew he'd step up. Another breacher burst in, lance raised. Gabriel fired, the rifle's kick jarring his shoulder. The shot missed, grazing armor. The courageous priestess tackled the breacher, her dagger sinking into his suit's core. Sparks flew. She whooped, but a tank's plasma shell hit the chamber's outer wall, cracking stone. Dust rained down. The gate flickered, its light strobing. Gabriel's heart pounded. I'm no hero, but I'm here. He tightened his grip on the blade, stepping toward the altar. Malus's chant grew louder, her black eyes blazing. The priestesses closed ranks, their daggers a glowing ring around the gate. Zorath boots thumped closer, lances humming. Gabriel raised the blade, its edge catching the gate's light. The hum shook his bones. The chamber shook again, a tank's cannon blasting nearby. The priestesses held their chant, voices unbroken. Gabriel's eyes flicked to Malus. She nodded, fierce. You're the one, Cross. Always were. He didn't answer. Didn't need to. The gate's light burned brighter, hungry for what came next. The breachers were at the door. The tanks were through the wall, and the blade in Gabriel's hand felt like fate. The chamber roared with chaos, the 12th gate's light blazing like a star gone wild. Gabriel Cross gripped the silver ceremonial blade, its 1 kilo weight heavy as destiny in his calloused hands. His storm cloak was singed, gray beard streaked with ash, but his storm-gray eyes burned steady. The gate's 5-meter rift pulsed, a shimmering tear in reality, its 100-decibel hum rattling his bones. Zorath breachers, elite grunts with 15 kj plasma lances, stormed the inner bastion, their boots pounding through rubble like a countdown. Malus Thorn stood by the altar, her silver-purple skin glowing under the gate's light, her black eyes locked on Gabriel, torn robes whipping as she chanted, voice fierce. The gate chose you, Cross. Your blood frees millions. The reliquary on the altar pulsed, its runes screaming blue. The priestesses circled tight, their plasma daggers raised, each one a beacon of courage, patience, and sacrifice. Their chant held the gate steady, but it flickered, hungry, unstable. A breacher burst through the chamber door, lance blazing. Gabriel spun, pulse rifle spitting a 10-shot burst. Sparks flew as the shot punched through the guy's exosuit, dropping him. Another took his place, lance slicing the air. The courageous priestess, all fire and grit, charged, her dagger flashing. She slashed the lance clean in half, grinning like she was winning. Then a second breacher's lance caught her side. She crumpled, her final chant fading, blood pooling on the stone. Gabriel's gut twisted. Not her. He stepped to the altar, blade raised. Zorath tanks outside, 50-ton beasts, blasted the walls, cracks spidering through obsidian. The chamber shook, dust raining. Malus's voice cut through. Now, Cross! Her chant never wavered, even as lances lit the doorway. Gabriel's mind is locked in. I've dodged duty my whole life. Not today. He slashed his palm, blood welling fast. Crimson drops hit the reliquary, sizzling as they sank into the runes. The gate flared, a blinding torrent of light. A rush of Elyrian souls, millions, shimmering like stardust, poured out, ascending into Vera 6's crimson sky. The hum spiked, shaking the bastion to its core. Walls cracked, stone groaning. Zorath breachers froze, their HUDs glitching, overloaded by the gate's energy surge. Their lances sparked, useless. Outside, tanks stalled, their systems fried. The corporal from the dunes, still out there, dropped his railgun, staring as the sky lit up. What the hell? He muttered, backing off. Gabriel staggered, blood dripping, vision blurring. The blade clattered to the floor. Malus caught him as he sank, her hands steady despite the chaos. You did it, outsider, she whispered, voice soft but fierce. You gave us peace. The priestesses' chant slowed, their daggers lowering, faces awestruck as souls streamed upward. The gate's light dimmed, its rift shrinking, sealing shut with a final, deafening pulse. The chamber fell quiet, dust settled. Only the faint hum of Bastion's recyclers and the distant storm's howl remained. Gabriel's breath hitched, his big frame slumping against the altar. The courageous priestess lay still nearby, her dagger dull now. Malus knelt beside him, her black eyes soft for the first time. You didn't run, she said with almost a smile. Gabriel tried to speak, but his voice was gone. His eyes flicked to the reliquary, its runes dark now. Done. Outside, the Zorath troops retreated, their tanks grinding back through the dunes. The corporal glanced back, his HUD dead, the sky still shimmering with souls. He didn't understand it, but he felt it. Something bigger than the Empire. Something that'd change everything. He turned, joining the retreat, leaving Bastion untouched. The priestesses gathered, their chant now a low hymn, mourning their fallen sister. Malus stayed with Gabriel, her hand on his shoulder. The gate was closed, the souls free. The Bastion stood, cracked but unbroken, its walls lit by the fading glow of the rift. Gabriel's chest slowed, his storm-gray eyes dimming. He'd been no hero, just a guy who'd picked the right fight this time. The air stilled. The storm outside quieted, like it knew the battle was over. Malice's voice dropped to a whisper. Rest, Cross. You've earned it. The reliquary sat silent, its job done. The priestesses stood guard, their daggers sheathed, their faces set with quiet pride. The gate was sealed, the prophecy fulfilled, and Gabriel's blood had bought it all. The ash storm faded to a low moan outside, leaving Sanctum Bastion quiet, almost holy. Malus Thorn stood in the atrium, her silver-purple skin soft under the dim lum strips. Her torn robes hung loose, but her black eyes held steady, gazing at the reliquary, now dark, its runes faded. The chamber was still, cracked walls bearing scars from the fight. The 12th gate had closed, its light gone, but the air felt different, lighter, like Vera 6 itself was breathing easier. The surviving priestesses, 9 now, gathered in the gardens they'd restored. Gabriel Cross lay beneath a fresh mound of earth, buried where the hydroponics bloomed, water channels gurgling thanks to his hands. Malus knelt, tracing his name into the soil. The outsider who stayed, she murmured, her voice a gentle hum, like a lullaby for the dead. The courageous priestess was buried nearby, her plasma dagger placed by her side, its glow snuffed out. Above the Zorath fleet, 50 warships strong, pulled back, their engines a faint rumble in the crimson sky. The gate's energy surge had fried their systems, spooked their crews. General Zarvek's voice didn't crackle over comms anymore. They were gone, tails tucked, leaving Vera 6 to its dust and ghosts. Malus stood, brushing ash from her robes. The bastion wasn't just a ruin now. It was reborn, renamed the Sanctuary of Cross. Pilgrims started arriving days later, Elyrians and humans trekking across the ash deserts. Word spread fast. The gate had opened, souls freed, a disgraced diplomat turned savior. The sanctuary's gardens bloomed brighter, irrigated by channels Gabriel had fixed. A priestess, radiating compassion, tended to a handful of Zorath deserters who'd stayed behind, their exosuits discarded, eyes haunted. You're safe here, she told them, her voice soft, hands bandaging their wounds. They nodded, too stunned to argue. Malus, now High Matriarch, oversaw the Vera Accord, a fragile peace treaty uniting 12-star systems. She signed it in the atrium, under the carved runes that had guided them. The reliquary sat on the altar, Gabriel's name etched into its stone. Gabriel Cross, the outsider. Pilgrims touched it, whispering thanks, their voices mingling with the faint hum of recyclers. Some swore they saw shimmering souls in the crimson skies, proof that the freed were watching. The priestesses rebuilt, their virtues shaping the sanctuary. Patience replanted gardens. Sacrifice repaired walls. Compassion welcomed strangers. Malus watched them work, her heart heavy but hopeful. Gabriel had changed, from a skeptical loner hiding from the galaxy to a man who'd faced fate head-on. She'd changed too. Her unwavering faith was now tempered with grief, but stronger for it. His sacrifice wasn't just a moment, it was a foundation. One evening Malus stood alone by the altar, the reliquary cool under her fingers. You didn't believe in prophecies, Cross, she said, voice low, like he could hear her. But you proved them right. You gave us peace, not just for us, but for generations. Those souls you freed, they're singing in the stars now. And this place, this sanctuary, it's your mark. A tired diplomat who picked the right fight. She paused, the silence thick. You showed us faith isn't just words, it's courage. It's a choice. It's giving everything, even when you've got nothing left. Her words hung in the air, a quiet promise. The sanctuary's walls, etched with the prophecy's runes, glowed faintly under the lum strips, like they were listening. Outside, the ash desert stretched endlessly, but the storms felt softer now, less angry. Pilgrims kept coming, their footsteps crunching in the dust, drawn to the story of the outsider who stayed. Mela stepped outside, the crimson sky streaked with faint shimmers. She smiled, small but real. The priestesses worked nearby, their chants a gentle hum, weaving hope into the air. The sanctuary of Cross stood tall, a beacon in the dunes, its gardens green, its walls unbowed. Gabriel's fight was over, but its echo carried on, binding Elyrians and humans, proving peace could grow from one man's blood. The wind whispered, carrying ash and memory. Malus turned back to the atrium, her steps light. The reliquary sat quietly, its job done. The sanctuary lived, and so did Gabriel's name, carved into stone and sky.